This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. H. Rider Haggard, Ayesha, The Return of She. Chapter 23. The Yielding of Ayesha. When I had satisfied myself, Leo was still at his meal, for loss of blood or the effects of the tremendous nerve tonic which Ayesha ordered to be administered to him had made him ravenous. I watched his face and became aware of a curious change in it. No immediate change indeed, but one, I think, that had come upon him gradually, although I only fully appreciated it now after our short separation. In addition to the thinness of which I have spoken, his handsome countenance had grown more ethereal. His eyes were full of the shadows of things that were to come. His aspect pained me, I knew not why. It was no longer that of the Leo with whom I was familiar, the deep-chested, mighty-limbed, jovial, upright traveller, hunter and fighting man, who had chanced to love and be loved of a spiritual power incarnated in a mould of perfect womanhood and armed with all the might of nature's self. These things were still present, indeed, but the man was changed, and I felt sure that this change came from Ayesha, since the look upon his face had become exceeding like to that which often hovered upon hers at rest. She also was watching him with speculative, dreamy eyes, till presently, as some thought swept through her, I saw those eyes blaze up and the red blood pour to cheek and brow. Yes, the mighty Ayesha, whose dead, slain for him, lay strewn by the thousand on yonder plain, blushed and trembled like a maiden at her first lover's kiss. Leo rose from the table. "I would that I had been with thee in the fray," he said. "At the drift there was fighting," she answered, "afterwards none. My ministers of fire, earth and air smote, no more. I waked them from their sleep and at my command they smote for thee and saved thee." "Many lives to take for one man's safety," Leo said solemnly, as though the thought pained him. "Had they been millions and not thousands, I would have spent them every one. On my head be their death, not on thine, or rather on hers," and she pointed to the dead Atene. "Yes, on hers who made this war. At least she should thank me who have sent so royal a host to guard her through the darkness." "Yet it is terrible," said Leo, "to think of thee, beloved, red to the hair with slaughter." "What reck I?" she answered with a splendid pride. "Let their blood suffice to wash the stain of thy blood from these cruel hands that once did murder thee." "Who am I that I should blame thee?" Leo went on as though arguing with himself. "I who but yesterday killed 2 men, to save myself from treachery." "Speak not of it," she exclaimed in cold rage. "I saw the place, and, Holly, thou knowest how I swore that 100 lives should pay for every drop of that dear blood of thine, and I who lie not have kept the oath. Look now on that man who stands yonder, struck by my will to stone, dead yet living, and say again, what was he about to do thee when I entered here?" "To take vengeance on me for the doom of his queen and of her armies," answered Leo. "And Ayesha, how knowest thou that a power higher than thine own will not demand it yet?" As he spoke, a pale shadow flickered on Leo's face, such a shadow as might fall from death's advancing wing, and in the fixed eyes of the shaman there shone a stony smile. For a moment terror seemed to take Ayesha, then it was gone as quickly as it came. "Nay," she said, "I ordain that it shall not be, and say one who listeth not, what power reigns in this wide earth that dare defy my will?" So she spoke, and as her words of awful pride, for they were very awful, rang round that stone-built chamber, a vision came to me, Holly. I saw illimitable space peopled with shining suns, and sunk in the infinite void above them one vast countenance, clad in a calm so terrific that at its aspect my spirit sank to nothingness. Yes, and I knew that this was destiny, enthroned above the spheres. Those lips moved, and obedient worlds rushed upon their course. They moved again, and these rolling chariots of the heavens were turned or stayed, appeared or disappeared. I knew also that against this calm majesty the being, woman or spirit, at my side had dared to hurl her passion and her strength. My soul reeled. I was afraid. The dread phantasm passed, and when my mind cleared again, Ayesha was speaking in a new, triumphant tones. "Nay, nay," she cried, "past is the night of dread, dawns of the day of victory. Look!" And she pointed through the window places shattered by the hurricane to the flaming town beneath, whence rose one continual wail of misery, the wail of women mourning their countless slain, while the fire roared through their homes like some unchained and rejoicing demon. "Look, Leo, on the smoke of the first sacrifice that I offer to thy royal state, and listen to its music. Perchance thou deemest it not. Why, then I'll give thee others. Thou lovest war. Good, we will go down to war, and the rebellious cities of the earth shall be the torches of our march." She paused a moment, her delicate nostrils quivering, and her face alight with the prescience of ungarnered splendours. Then, like a swooping swallow, flitted to where by dead Athene the gold circlet fallen from the Khania's hair lay upon the floor. She stooped, lifted it, and coming to Leo, held it high above his head. Slowly she let her hand fall until the glittering coronet rested for an instant on his brow. Then she spoke in her glorious voice that rolled out rich and low, a very paean of triumph and power. "By this poor earthly symbol I create thee king of earth. Yea, in its round for thee is gathered all her rule. Be thou its king, and mine." Again the coronet was held aloft, again it sank, and again she said, or rather chanted, "With this unbroken ring, token of eternity, I swear to thee the boon of endless days. Endure thou while the world endures, and be its lord and mine." A third time the coronet touched his brow. "By this golden round I do endow thee with wisdom, perfect gold uncountable. That is the talisman whereat all nature's secret paths shall open to thy feet. Victorious, victorious, tread thou her wondrous ways with me, till from her topmost peak at last she wafts us to our immortal throne, whereof the columns twain are life and death." Then Ayesha cast away the crown, and lo! it fell upon the breast of the lost Athene, and rested there. "Art content with these gifts of mine, my lord?" she cried. Leo looked at her sadly and shook his head. "What more wilt thou then? Ask, and I swear it shall be thine." "Thou swearest, but wilt thou keep the oath?" "Aye, by myself I swear, by myself and by the strength that bred me. If it be aught that I can grant, then if I refuse it to thee, may such destruction fall upon me as will satisfy even Athene's watching soul." I heard, and I think that another heard also. At least once more the stony smile shone in the eyes of the shaman. "I ask of thee nothing that thou canst not give, Ayesha. I ask of thee thyself, not at some distant time when I have been bathed in a mysterious fire, but now, now, this night." She shrank back from him a little, as though dismayed. "Surely," she said slowly, "I am like that foolish philosopher who, walking abroad to read the destinies of nations in the stars, fell down a pitfall dug by idle children, and broke his bones and perished there. Never did I guess that with all these glories stretched before thee like mountain top on glittering mountain top, making a stairway for thy mortal feet to the very dome of heaven, thou wouldst still clutch at thy native earth and seek of it but the common boon of woman's love. O Leo, I thought that thy soul was set upon nobler aims, that thou wouldst pray me for wider powers, for a more vast dominion, that as though they were but yonder fallen door of wood and iron, I should break for thee the bars of Hades, and like the Everidike of old fable, draw thee living down the steeps of death, or thrown thee midst of the fires of the furthest sun to watch its subject worlds at play. Or I thought that thou wouldst bid me reveal what no woman ever told, the bitter, naked truth, all my sins and sorrows, all the wandering fancies of my fickle thought, even what thou knowest not and perchance never shall know, who I am and whence I came, and how to thy charmed eyes I seem to change from foul to fair, and what is the purpose of my love for thee, and what the meaning of that tale of an angry goddess who never was except in dreams. I thought, nay, no matter what I thought, save that thou wert far other than thou art, my Leo, and in so high a moment that thou wouldst seek to pass the mystic gates my glory can throw wide, and with me tread an air supernal to the hidden heart of things. Yet thy prayer is but the same that the whole world whispers beneath the silent moon, in the palace and the cottage, among the snows and on the burning desert's waste. Oh, my love, thy lips, oh, my love, be mine now, now, beneath the moon, beneath the moon. Leo, I thought better, higher of thee. Mayhap, Ayesha, thou wouldst have thought worse of me had I been content with thy suns and constellations and spiritual gifts and dominations that I neither desire nor understand. If I had said to thee, be thou my angel, not my wife, divide the ocean that I may walk its bed, pierce the firmament and show me how grow the stars, tell me the origins of being and of death, and instruct me in their issues. Give up the races of mankind to my sword, and the wealth of all the earth to fill my treasuries. Teach me also how to drive the hurricane, as thou canst do, and to bend the laws of nature to my purpose. On earth make me half a god, as thou art. But, Ayesha, I am no god. I am a man, and as a man I seek the woman whom I love. Oh, divest thyself of all these wrappings of thy power, that power which streweth thy path with dead and keeps me apart from thee. If only for one short night, forget the ambition that gnaws unceasingly at thy soul. I say, forget thy greatness and be a woman and my wife. She made no answer, only looked at him and shook her head, causing her glorious hair to ripple like water beneath a gentle breeze. Thou deniest me, he went on with gathering strength, and that thou canst not do that thou mayst not do. For Ayesha, thou hast sworn, and I demand the fulfilment of thine oath. Hark thou, I refuse thy gifts. I will have none of thy rule who ask no Pharaoh's throne, and wish to do good to men and not to kill them, that the world may profit. I will not go with thee to Kor, nor to be bathed in the breath of life. I will leave thee and cross the mountains, or perish on them, nor with all thy strength canst thou hold me to thy side, who indeed needest me not. No longer will I endure this daily torment, the torment of thy presence and thy sweet words, thy loving looks, thy promises for next year, next year, next year. So keep thine oath, or let me be gone." Still Ayesha stood silent. Only now her head drooped and her breast began to heave. Then Leo stepped forward. He seized her in his arms and kissed her. She broke from his embrace, I know not how, for though she returned it was close enough, and again stood before him, but at a little distance. "Did I not warn, Holly," she whispered with a sigh, "to bid thee beware lest I should catch thy human fire? Man, I say to thee, it begins to smoulder in my heart, and should it grow to flame—" "Why then," he answered laughing, "we will be happy for a little while." "Aye, Leo, but how long? Why wert thou so lord of this loveliness of mine and not set above their harming? Night and day 100 jealous daggers would seek thy heart and find it." "How long, Ayesha? A lifetime? A year? A month? A minute? I neither know nor care. And while thou art true to me, I fear no stabs of envy." "Is it so? Wilt take the risk? I can promise thee nothing. Thou mightest, yes, in this way or in that, thou mightest die." "And if I die, what then? Shall we be separated?" "Nay, nay, Leo, that is not possible. We never can be severed. Of this I am sure. It is sworn to me. But then through other lives and other spheres, higher lives and higher spheres mayhap, our fates must force a painful path to their last goal of union." "Why, then I take the hazard, Ayesha. Shall the life that I can risk to slay a leopard or a lion in the sport of an idle hour be too great a price to offer for the splendours of thy breast? Thine oath, Ayesha, I claim thine oath." Then it was that in Ayesha there began the most mysterious and thrilling of her many changes. Yet how to describe it I know not, unless it be by simile. Once in Thibet we were imprisoned by months by snows that stretched down from the mountain slopes into the valleys, and oh, how weary did we grow of those arid, aching fields of purest white. At length rain set in, and blinding mists in which it was not safe to wander, that made the dark nights darker yet. So it was until there came a morning when, seeing the sun shine, we went to our door and looked out. Behold, a miracle! Gone were the snows that choked the valley, and in the place of them appeared vivid springing grass, starred everywhere with flowers, and murmuring brooks, and birds that sang and nested in the willows. Gone was the frowning sky, and all the blue firmament seemed one tender smile. Gone were the austerities of winter with its harsh winds, and in their place spring, companioned by the zephyrs, glided down the vale, singing her song of love and life. There in this high chamber, in the presence of the living and the dead, while the last act of the great tragedy unrolled itself before me, looking on Ayesha, that forgotten scene sprang into my mind. For on her face, just such a change had come. Hitherto, with all her loveliness, the heart of Ayesha had seemed like that winter mountain, wrapped in its unapproachable snow, and before her pure brow and icy self-command, aspiration sank abashed and desires died. She swore she loved, and her love fulfilled itself in death and many a mysterious way. Yet it was hard to believe that this passion of hers was more than a spoken part, for how can the star seek the moth, although the moth may seek the star? Though the man may worship the goddess for all her smiles divine, how can the goddess love the man? But now everything was altered. Look, Ayesha grew human. I could see her heart beat beneath her robes and hear her breath come in soft, sweet sobs, while over her upturned face and in her alluring eyes there spread itself that look which is born of love alone. Radiant and more radiant did she seem to grow, sweeter and more sweet, no longer the veiled hermit of the caves, no longer the oracle of the sanctuary, no longer the Valkyrie of the battle plain, but only the loveliest and most happy bride that ever gladdened a husband's eyes. She spoke, and it was of little things, for thus Ayesha proclaimed the conquest of herself. Fie, she said, showing her white robes torn with spears and stained by the dust and dew of war. Fie, my lord, what marriage garments are these in which at last I come to thee, who would have been adorned in regal gems and raiment befitting to my state and thine? I seek the woman, not her garment, said Leo, his burning eyes fixed upon her face. Thou seekst the woman. Ah, there it lies. Tell me, Leo, am I woman or spirit? Say that I am woman, for now the prophecy of this dead Athene lies heavy on my soul. Athene who said that mortal and immortal may not mate. Thou must be woman, or thou wouldst not have tormented me as thou hast done these many weeks. I thank thee for the comfort of thy words. Yet was it woman whose breath wrought destruction upon yonder plain? Was it to a woman that blast and lightning bowed and said, we are here, command us, we obey? Did that dead thing, and she pointed to the shattered door, break inward at a woman's will? Or could a woman charm this man to stone? Oh, Leo, would that I were woman. I tell thee that I'd lay all my grandeur down, a wedding offering at thy feet, could I be sure that for one short year I should be not but woman and thy happy wife. Thou sayest that I did torment thee, but it is I who have known torment, I who desired to yield and dared not. I tell thee, Leo, were I not sure that thy little stream of life is draining dry into the great ocean of my life, drawn thither as the sea draws its rivers, or as the sun draws mists e'en now, I would not yield. But I know, for my wisdom tells it me, ere ever we could reach the shores of Libya, the ill work would be done, and thou dead of thine own longing, thou dead, and I widowed, who never was a wife. Therefore see, like lost Athene, I take the dice and cast them, not knowing how they shall fall, for good or ill I cast. And she made a wild motion of some desperate gamester throwing his last throw. So, Ayesha went on, the thing is done, and the number summed for though it be hidden from my sight. I have made an end of doubts and fears, and come death, come life, I'll meet it bravely. Say, how shall we be wed? I have it. Holly here must join our hands. Who else? He that ever was our guide shall give me unto thee, and thee to me? This burning city is our altar. The dead and living are our witnesses on earth and heaven. In place of rites and ceremonials, for this first time I lay my lips on thine, and when 'tis done, for music I'll sing thee a nuptial chant of love, such as mortal poet has not written, nor have mortal lovers heard. Come, Holly, do now thy part, and give this maiden to this man." Like one in a dream, I obeyed her and took Ayesha's outstretched hand and Leo's. As I held them thus, I tell the truth, it was as though some fire rushed through my veins from her to him, shaking and shattering me with swift waves of burning and unearthly bliss. With the fire, too, came glorious visions and sounds of mighty music, and a sense as though my brain, filled with overflowing life, must burst asunder beneath its weight. I joined their hands, I know not how. I blessed them, I know not in what words. Then I reeled back against the wall and watched. This is what I saw. With an abandonment and a passion so splendid and intense that it seemed more than human, with a murmured cry of "Husband!" Ayesha cast her arms about her lover's neck, and drawing down his head to hers so that the gold hair was mingled with her raven locks, she kissed him on the lips. Thus they clung a little while, and as they clung, the gentle diadem of light from her brow spread to his brow also, and through the white wrappings of her robe became visible her perfect shape shining with faint fire. With a little happy laugh she left him, saying, "Thus, Leo, oh, thus for the second time do I give myself to thee, and with this flesh and spirit all I swore to thee, there in the dim caves of Kor and here in the palace of Kaloon. Know thou this, come what may, never, never more shall we be separate who are ordained one. Whilst thou livest, I live at thy side, and when thou diest, if die thou must, I'll follow thee through worlds and firmaments, nor shall all the doors of heaven or hell avail against my love. Where thou goest, thither I will go. When thou sleepst, with thee I will sleep, and it is my voice that thou shalt hear, murmuring through the dreams of life and death. My voice that shall summon thee to awaken in the last hour of everlasting dawn, when all this night of misery has furled her wings for aye. Listen now, while I sing to thee, and hear that song aright, for in its melody at length thou shalt learn the truth which unwed I might not tell to thee. Thou shalt learn who and what I am, and who and what thou art, and of the high purposes of our love, and this dead woman's hate, and of all that I've hid from thee in veiled, bewildering words and visions. Listen then, my love and lord, to the burden of the song of fate." She ceased speaking and gazed heavenwards with a rapt look, as though she waited for some inspiration to fall upon her. And never, never, not even in the fires of Kor, had Ayesha seemed so divine as she did now in this moment of the ripe harvest of her love. My eyes wandered from her to Leo, who stood before her pale and still, still as the death-like figure of the shaman, still as the Khania's icy shape which stared upwards from the ground. What was passing in his mind, I wondered, that he could remain thus insensible, while in all her might and awful beauty this proud being worshipped him. "Hark!" she began to sing in a voice so rich and perfect that its honeyed notes seemed to cloy my blood and stop my breath. "The world was not, and in the womb of silence slept the souls of men. Yet I was, and thou—" Suddenly Ayesha stopped, and I felt rather than saw the horror on her face. "Look! Leo swayed to and fro as though the stones beneath him were but a rocking boat. To and fro he swayed, stretched out his blind arms to clasp her, then suddenly fell backwards and lay still. Oh, what a shriek was that she gave! Surely it must have wakened the very corpses upon the plain. Surely it must have echoed in the stars. One shriek only, then throbbing silence. I sprang to him, and there, withered in Ayesha's kiss, slain by the fire of her love, Leo lay dead upon the breast of dead Athene. End of chapter 23 of Ayesha, The Return of She by H. Rider Haggard. Read by Lars Rolander. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. H. Rider Haggard. Ayesha, The Return of She. Chapter 24. The Passing of Ayesha. I heard Ayesha say presently, and the words struck me as dreadful in their hopeless acceptance of a doom against which even she had no strength to struggle. It seems that my lord has left me for a while. I must hasten to my lord afar. After that I do not quite know what happened. I had lost the man who was all in all to me, friend and child in one, and I was crushed as I had never been before. It seemed so sad that I, old and outworn, should still live on, whilst he in the flower of his age, snatched from joy and greatness such as no man hath known, lay thus asleep. I think that by an afterthought Ayesha and Oros tried to restore him. Tried without result, for here her powers were of no avail. Indeed, my conviction is that although some lingering life still kept him on his feet, Leo had really died at the moment of her embrace, since, when I looked at him before he fell, his face was that of a dead man. Yes, I believe that last speech of hers, although she knew it not, was addressed to his spirit, for in her burning kiss his flesh had perished. When at length I recovered myself a little, it was to hear Ayesha in a cold, calm voice, her face I could not see, for she had veiled herself, commanding certain priests who had been summoned to bear away the body of that accursed woman and bury her as befits her rank. Even then I bethought me, I remember, of the tale of Jehu and Jezebel. Leo, looking strangely calm and happy, lay now upon a couch, the arms folded on his breast. When the priests had tramped away, carrying their royal burden, Ayesha, who sat by his body brooding, seemed to awake, for she rose and said, "I need a messenger, and for no common journey, since he must search out the habitations of the shades," and she turned herself towards Oros and appeared to look at him. Now, for the first time, I saw that priest change countenance a little, for the eternal smile, of which even this scene had not quite rid it, left his face, and he grew pale and trembled. "Thou art afraid," she said contemptuously. "Be at rest, Oros. I will not send one who is afraid. Holly, wilt thou go for me, and him?" "Aye," I answered. "I am weary of life and desire no other end. Only let it be swift and painless." She mused a while, then said, "Nay, thy time is not yet. Thou still hast work to do. Endure, my Holly, 'tis only for a breath." Then she looked at the shaman, the man turned to stone, who all this while had stood there as a statue stands, and cried, "Awake!" Instantly he seemed to thaw into life, his limbs relaxed, his breast heaved, he was as he had always been, ancient, gnarled, malevolent. "I hear thee, mistress," he said, bowing as a man bows to the powers that he hates. "Thou seest, Simbri," and she waved her hand. "I see. Things have befallen as Athene and I foretold, have they not? Ere long the corpse of a new crowned Khan of Kaloon," and he pointed to the gold circlet that Ayesha had set on Leo's brow, "will lie upon the brink of the pit of flame, as I foretold." An evil smile crept into his eyes and he went on, "Hadst thou not smote me dumb, I who watched could have warned thee that they would so befall. But, great mistress, it pleased thee to smite me dumb, and so it seems, O Hes, that thou hast overshot thyself, and liest broken at the foot of that pinnacle which step by step thou hast climbed for more than 2000 weary years. See what thou hast bought at the price of countless lives, that now before the throne of judgment bring accusations against thy powers misused, and cry out for justice on thy head." And he looked at the dead form of Leo. "I sorrow for them, yet, Simbri, they were well spent," Ayesha answered reflectively, "who by their forewritten doom, as it was decreed, held thy knife from falling and thus won me my husband. Aye, and I am happy, happier than such blind bats as thou can see or guess. For know that now with him I have re-wed my wandering soul divorced by sin from me, and that our marriage kiss, which burned his life away, there shall still be born to us children of forgiveness and eternal grace and all things that are pure and fair. Look thou, Simbri, I will honour thee, thou shalt be my messenger. And beware, beware, I say, how thou dost fulfil thine office, since of every syllable thou must render an account. Go thou down the dark path of death, and since even my thought may not reach to where he sleeps tonight, search out my lord, and say to him that the feet of his spouse Ayesha are following fast. Bid him have no fear for me who by this last sorrow have atoned my crimes and am in his embrace regenerate. Tell him that thus it was appointed, and thus is best, since now he is dipped indeed in the eternal flame of life. Now for him the mortal night is done, and the everlasting day arises. Command him that he await me in the gate of death, where it is granted that I greet him presently. Thou hearest?" "I hear, O Queen, mighty from old." "One message more. Say to Athene that I forgive her. Her heart was high and greatly did she play her part. There in the gates we will balance our account. Thou hearest?" "I hear, O eternal star that hath conquered night." "Then, man, be gone." As the word left Ayesha's lips, Simbri leapt from the floor, grasping at the air as though he would clutch his own departing soul, staggered back against the board where Leo and I had eaten, overthrowing it, and amid a ruin of gold and silver vessels, fell down and died. She looked at him, then said to me, "See, though he ever hated me, this magician who has known Ayesha from the first, did homage to my ancient majesty at last, when lies and defiance would serve his end no more. No longer now do I hear the name that his dead mistress gave to me, the star that has fallen, in his lips, and in very truth is become the star which has burst the bonds of night and re-arisen shines for ever, shines with its twin immortal to set no more, my Holly. Well, he is gone, and ere now, those that serve me in the underworld, dost remember, thou sawest their captains in the sanctuary bend the head at great Ayesha's word, and make her place ready near her spouse. But oh, what folly has been mine, when even here my wrath can show such power. How could I hope that my lord would outlive the fires of my love? Still it was better so, for he sought not the pomp I would have given him, nor desired the death of men. Yet such pomp must have been his portion in his poor shadow of a world. And the steps that encircle an usurper's throne are ever slippery with blood. Thou art weary, my Holly. Go rest thee. Tomorrow night we journey to the mountain, there to celebrate these obsequies. I crept into the room adjoining. It had been Simbri's, and laid me down upon his bed, but to sleep I was not able. Its door was open, and in the light of the burning city that shone through the casements, I could see Ayesha watching by her dead. Hour after hour she watched, her head resting on her hand, silent, stirless. She wept not, no sigh escaped her, only watched as a tender woman watches a slumbering babe that she knows will awake at dawn. Her face was unveiled, and I perceived that it had greatly changed. All pride and anger were departed from it. It was grown soft, wistful, yet full of confidence and quietness. For a while I could not think of what it reminded me, till suddenly I remembered. Now it was like indeed the counterpart almost of the holy and majestic semblance of the statue of the mother in the sanctuary. Yes, with just such a look of love and power as that mother cast upon her frightened child, new risen from its dream of death, did Ayesha gaze upon her dead, while her parted lips also seemed to whisper some tale of hope sure and immortal. At length she rose and came into my chamber. "Thou thinkest me fallen and dost grieve for me, my Holly?" she said in a gentle voice, "knowing my fears lest some such fate should overtake my lord?" "Aye, Ayesha, I grieve for thee as for myself." "Spare then thy pity, Holly, since although the human part of me would have kept him on the earth, now my spirit doth rejoice that for a while he has burst his mortal bonds. For many an age, although I knew it not, in my proud defiance of the universal law, I have fought against this true will and mine. Thrice have I and the angel wrestled, matching strength with strength, and thrice has he conquered me. Yet as he bore away his prize this night, he whispered wisdom in my ear. This was his message, that in death is love's home, in death its strength, that from the charnel house of life this love springs again, glorified and pure, to reign and conquer for ever. Therefore I wipe away my tears, and crowned once more a queen of peace, I go to join him whom we have lost, there where he awaits us, as it is granted to me that I shall do. But I am selfish and forgot. Thou needst rest. Sleep, friend, I bid thee sleep." And I slept wondering as my eyes closed whence Ayesha drew this strange confidence and comfort. I know not, but it was there, real and not assumed. I can only suppose therefore that some illumination had fallen on her soul, and that, as she stated, the love and end of Leo, in a way unknown, did suffice to satisfy her court of sins. At the least those sins and all the load of death that lay at her door never seemed to trouble her at all. She appeared to look upon them merely as events which were destined to occur, as inevitable fruits of a seed sowed long ago by the hand of fate, for whose workings she was not responsible. The fears and considerations which weigh with mortals did not affect or oppress her. In this as in other matters, Ayesha was a law unto herself. When I awoke it was day, and through the window place I saw the rain that the people of Kaloon had so long desired falling in one straight sheet. I saw also that Ayesha, seated by the shrouded form of Leo, was giving orders to her priests and captains and to some nobles who had survived the slaughter of Kaloon, as to the new government of the land. Then I slept again. It was evening, and Ayesha stood at my bedside. "All is prepared," she said. "Awake and ride with me." So we went, escorted by 1,000 cavalry, for the rest stayed to occupy or perchance to plunder the land of Kaloon. In front the body of Leo was borne by relays of priests, and behind it rode the veiled Ayesha, I at her side. Strange was the contrast between this departure and our arrival. Then the rushing squadrons, the elements that raved, the perpetual sheen of lightnings seen through the swinging curtains of the hail, the voices of despair from an army rolled in blood beneath the chariot wheels of thunder. Now the white-draped corpse, the slow-pacing horses, the riders with their spears reversed, and on either side, seen in that melancholy moonlight, the women of Kaloon burying their innumerable dead. And Ayesha herself, yesterday a Valkyrie crested with a star of flame, today but a bereaved woman, humbly following her husband to the tomb. Yet how they feared her. Some widow standing on the grave mould she had dug pointed as we passed to the body of Leo, uttering bitter words which I could not catch. Thereon her companions flung themselves upon her, and felling her with fist and spade, prostrated themselves upon the ground, throwing dust on their hair in token of their submission to the priestess of death. Ayesha saw them, and said to me with something of her ancient fire and pride, "I tread the plain of Kaloon no more, yet as a parting gift I have read this high-stomached people a lesson that they needed long. Not for many a generation, O Holly, will they dare to lift spear against the College of Hes and its subject tribes." Again it was night, and where once lay that of the Khan, the man whom he had killed, flanked by the burning pillars, the bier of Leo stood in the inmost sanctuary before the statue of the Mother, whose gentle, unchanging eyes seemed to search his quiet face. On her throne sat the veiled Hesea, giving commands to her priests and priestesses. "I am weary," she said, "and it may be that I leave you for a while to rest beyond the mountains. A year or 1,000 years I cannot say. If so, let Papave, with Oros as her counsellor and husband, and their seed, hold my place till I return again. Priests and priestesses of the College of Hes, over new territories have I held my hand. Take them as an heritage from me, and rule them well and gently. Henceforth let the Hesea of the mountain be also the Khania of Kaloon." priests and priestesses of our ancient faith, learn to look through its rites and tokens, outwards and visible, to the informing spirit. If Hes, the goddess, never ruled on earth, still pitying nature rules. If the name of Isis never rang through the courts of heaven, still in heaven, with all love fulfilled, nursing her human children on her breast, dwells the mighty motherhood, whereof this statue is the symbol. That motherhood which bore us, and, unforgetting, faithful, will receive us at the end. For of the bread of bitterness we shall not always eat, of the water of tears we shall not always drink. Beyond the night the royal suns ride on, ever the rainbow shines around the rain. Though they slip from our clutching hands like melted snow, the lives we lose shall yet be found immortal, and from the burnt out fires of our human hopes will spring a heavenly star. She paused and waved her hand as though to dismiss them, then added by an afterthought, pointing to myself, "This man is my beloved friend and guest. Let him be yours also. It is my will that thou tend and guard him here, and when the snows have melted and summer is at hand, that you fashion a way for him through the gulf and bring him across the mountains by which he came, till you leave him in safety. Hear and forget not, for be sure that to me you shall give account of him." The night drew towards the dawn, and we stood upon the peak above the gulf of fire, 4 of us only, Ayesha and I and Oros and Papave. For the bearers had laid down the body of Leo upon its edge and gone their way. The curtain of flame flared in front of us. Its crest bent over like a billow in the gale, and to leeward, one by one, floated the torn off clouds and pinnacles of fire. By the dead Leo knelt Ayesha, gazing at that icy, smiling face, but speaking no single word. At length she rose and said, "Darkness draws near, my Holly, that deep darkness which foreruns the glory of the dawn. Now fare thee well for one little hour. When thou art about to die, but not before, call me, and I will come to thee. Stir not and speak not till all be done, lest when I am no longer here to be thy guard, some presence should pass on and slay thee. Think not that I am conquered, for now my name is Victory. Think not that Ayesha's strength is spent or her tale is done, for of it thou readst but a single page. Think not even that I am today that thing of sin and pride, the Ayesha thou didst adore and fear. I who in my Lord's love and sacrifice have again conceived my soul. For know that now once more, as at the beginning, his soul and mine are one." She thought a while and added, "Friend, take this sceptre in memory of me, but beware how thou usest it, save at the last to summon me, for it has virtues." And she gave me the jewelled sistrum that she bore, then said, "So kiss his brow, stand back and be still." Now, as once before, the darkness gathered on the pit, and presently, although I heard no prayer, though now no mighty music broke upon the silence, through that darkness, beating up the gale, came the 2-winged flame and hovered where Ayesha stood. It appeared, it vanished, and one by one the long minutes crept away until the first spear of dawn lit upon the point of rock. Lo! It was empty, utterly empty and lonesome. Gone was the corpse of Leo, and gone too was Ayesha the imperial, the divine. Whither had she gone? I know not, but this I know, that as the light returned and the broad sheet of flame flared out to meet it, I seemed to see two glorious shapes sweeping upward on its bosom, and the face that they wore were those of Leo and of Ayesha. Often and often during the weary months that followed, whilst I wandered through the temple or amid the winter snows upon the mountain side, did I seek to solve this question. Whither had she gone? I asked it of my heart. I asked it of the skies. I asked it of the spirit of Leo, which often was so near to me. But no sure answer ever came, nor will I hazard one, as mystery wrapped Ayesha's origin and lives. For the truth of these things I never learnt, so did mystery wrap her death, or rather her departings, for I cannot think her dead. Surely she still is, if not on earth, then in some other sphere. So I believe, and when my own hours come, and it draws near swiftly, I shall know whether I believe in vain, or whether she will appear to be my guide, as with her last words she swore that she would do. Then, too, I shall learn what she was about to reveal to Leo when he died, the purposes of their being and of their love. So I can wait in patience, who must not wait for long, though my heart is broken and I am desolate. Oros and all the priests were very good to me. Indeed, even had it been their wish, they would have feared to be otherwise, who remembered and were sure that in some time to come they must render an account of this matter to their dread queen. By way of return, I helped them as I was best able to draw up a scheme for the government of the conquered country of Kaloon, and with my advice upon many other questions. And so at length the long month wore away, till at the approach of summer the snows melted. Then I said that I must be gone. They gave me of their treasures in precious stones, lest I should need money for my faring, since the gold of which I had such plenty was too heavy to be carried by one man alone. They led me across the plains of Kaloon, where now the husbandmen, those that were left of them, ploughed the land and scattered seed, and so on to its city. But amidst those blackened ruins over which Athene's palace still frowned unharmed, I would not enter, for to me it was, and always must remain, a home of death. So I camped outside the walls by the river, just where Leo and I had landed after that poor mad Khan set us free, or rather loosed us to be hunted by his death hounds. Next day we took a boat and rowed up the river, past the place where we had seen Athene's cousin murdered, till we came to the gatehouse. Here once again I slept, or rather did not sleep. On the following morning I went down into the ravine and found to my surprise that the rapid torrent, shallow enough now, had been roughly bridged, and that in preparation for my coming, rude but sufficient ladders were built on the face of the opposing precipice. At the foot of these I bade farewell to Oros, who at our parting smiled benignantly, as on the day we met. "We have seen strange things together," I said to him, not knowing what else to say. "Very strange," he answered. "At least, friend Oros," I went on awkwardly enough, "events have shaped themselves to your advantage, for you inherit a royal mantle." "I wrap myself in a mantle of borrowed royalty," he answered with precision, "of which doubtless one day I shall be stripped." "You mean that the great Ayesha is not dead?" I mean that she never dies. She changes, that is all. As the wind blows now hence, now hither, so she comes and goes, and who can tell at what spot upon the earth, or beyond it, for a while that wind lies sleeping. But at sunset or at dawn, at noon or at midnight, it will begin to blow again, and then woe to those who stand across its path. Remember the dead heaped upon the plains of Kaloon. Remember the departing of the shaman Simbri with his message, and the words that she spoke then. Remember the passing of the Hesea from the mountain point, stranger from the west. Surely as tomorrow's sun must rise, as she went, so she will return again, and in my borrowed garment I await her advent. I also await her advent, I answered, and thus we parted. Accompanied by 20 picked men bearing provisions and arms, I climbed the ladders easily enough, and now that I had food and shelter, crossed the mountains without mishap. They even escorted me through the desert beyond, till one night we camped within sight of the gigantic Buddha that sits before the monastery, gazing eternally across the sands and snows. When I awoke next morning, the priests were gone. So I took up my pack and pursued my journey alone, and walking slowly, came at sunset to the distant lamasery. At its door an ancient figure, wrapped in a tattered cloak, was sitting engaged apparently in contemplation of the skies. It was our old friend Kou-En. Adjusting his horn spectacles on his nose, he looked at me. "I was awaiting you, brother of the monastery called the world," he said in a voice message very ineffectually to conceal his evident delight. "Have you grown hungry there, that you return to this poor place?" "Aye, most excellent Kou-En," I answered, "hungry for a rest." "It shall be yours for all the days of this incarnation. But say, where is the other brother?" "Dead," I answered. "And therefore reborn elsewhere, or perhaps dreaming in Devachan for a while? Well, doubtless we shall meet him later on. Come, eat, and afterwards tell me your story." So I ate, and that night I told him all. Kou-En listened with respectful attention, but the tale, strange as it might seem to most people, excited no particular wonder in his mind. Indeed, he explained it to me at such length by aid of some marvellous theory of reincarnations that at last I began to doze. "At least," I said sleepily, "it would seem that we are all winning merit on the everlasting plane." For I thought that favourite catchword would please him. "Yes, brother of the monastery called the world," Kou-En answered in a severe voice. "Doubtless you are all winning merit, but if I may venture to say so, you are winning it very slowly. Especially the woman, or the sorceress, or the mighty evil spirit, whose names I understand you to tell me are She, Hes, and Ayesha upon earth, and in Avicii, star that has fallen." Here Mr. Holly's manuscript ends, its outer sheets having been burnt when he threw it on to the fire at his house in Cumberland. End of the book. Ayesha, The Return of She, by H. Rider Haggard. Read by Lars Rolander.